Human health and well-being, as well as environmental health and sustainability, are dependent upon the health of plant systems. 11 plant species provide over 90% of the calories that make up the human diet. Over the next 30 years, the world's population will increase from its current 7 billion people to over 9 billion. To feed the additional 2 billion people will require that we grow approximately 70% more food than we do now. It will also require that we protect that food from losses to diseases and pests during production and after harvest. Up to 30% of the food that is produced globally is lost to diseases, insects, and spoilage prior to consumption. To feed an additional 2 billion people, we will need to produce more and lose less. Wheat is the second most important food crop globally, providing approximately 17% of the calories that sustain humans. Wheat is planted on more acreage around the world than any other food crop, and thus is critical to achieving food security. Wheat blast is an emerging disease of wheat in South America caused by a fungus called Magnaporthy oryzae triticum pathotype. It was discovered in Brazil in 1985 and has since spread to Bolivia and Paraguay. In affected fields, yields can be lowered by 50 to 90%. Diseased wheat plants either fail to produce grain or the grain is of very poor quality. The wheat blast epidemic in Brazil in 2009 reduced the national wheat production by 30%. Unlike the rust diseases that U.S. wheat producers are accustomed to, fungicides have not been effective for managing wheat blast in Brazil or Bolivia. If the wheat blast pathogen gets established in the U.S., it is possible that blast will cause significant economic losses. Without a better understanding of the pathogen and the disease cycle, selecting the best fungicide chemistry and optimizing the application of the fungicide will remain difficult. In 2008, the United States Department of Agriculture funded a team of scientists at Kansas State University and the Agricultural Research Service at Fort Detrick, Maryland, to investigate this new disease and to determine the risk that it poses to the U.S. wheat industry. The researchers set out to 1. Determine which U.S. wheat varieties were resistant to blast and which were susceptible. 2. To develop molecular tools for the detection of the pathogen and the diagnosis of the disease. 3. To increase our understanding of the biology of the pathogen. And 4. To educate stakeholders and scientists about this potential threat to U.S. wheat production. In South America, the symptoms of wheat blast are often confused with those of other wheat diseases. Consequently, accurate molecular-based detection and diagnostic tools are essential to effective disease management. In specially designed and rigorously managed state-of-the-art biocontainment laboratories at Kansas State University and at Fort Detrick, over 500 U.S. commercial wheat varieties were tested for susceptibility to the disease. Wheat varieties with varying levels of resistance to blast have been identified. Through collaborations with scientists in Bolivia and Brazil, the resistance of U.S. varieties determined in U.S. laboratories was verified in South America under natural field conditions. Scientists at Kansas State University and the United States Department of Agriculture's Center for Plant Health Science and Technology have developed a pathway analysis to determine the risk of introducing the wheat blast pathogen into the U.S. and the potential for it to establish and spread. The knowledge gained from this pathway analysis should provide the foundation for predicting the global spread of this emerging disease. Recently, a second United States Department of Agriculture project was established to build upon the research accomplishments of the first project. Joining Kansas State University and the Agricultural Research Service will be scientists from several additional institutions in the U.S. and Brazil. The new project will include 1. The development of a wheat blast forecasting system, 2. Improved fungicide management strategies, and 3. A better understanding of the wheat blast disease cycle. These projects should provide the mitigation measures necessary to manage wheat blast and the understanding required to minimize the impacts from this emerging disease. To meet the challenge of feeding 9 billion people by 2043, we need to produce more food and to protect that food from the diseases that reduce yield and lower quality. Wheat is among the most important foods supplying humans with 17% of the calories that we consume. If we are to feed a growing population in a shrinking world, we need to protect the plants upon which we depend. We depend on wheat. We must do the science and provide the education necessary to ensure an adequate and dependable supply of wheat-based foods and feeds.